It could have been the hypnotic strobe lights, the delectable ambrosial nature of Yaomomo's drinks, Jiro's enticing music, even the hive mind of the crowd gathered, or its endowment of all three that contrived Entrance 7 to be irresistibly addictive. You gravitated to the makeshift club with every visit to the AM, even just to grab a bottle of Creati's new creation before heading back out to watch a race or a drifting competition. Today, however, you'd lost yourself to the beat alongside Mina, who was currently embracing her inherent queen bee state of being. Everyone in Entrance 7 had formed a gyrating circle around her, like worker bees, as she showed off her jaw-dropping moves. You screamed her name, cheering her on with the rest of the hive, high on the energy of the club, and likely the caffeine in your drink. You were sure you could taste a hint of Red Bull in the mix. Mina flipped onto her hands sharply, performing a swift handstand and keeping herself balanced on one hand, and the crowd lost the remnants of their mind, screaming to burst their eardrums. As you admire her form and distantly wonder how one learns to do basically a one-handed handstand, you catch sight of someone past her legs. Your high plummets instantly as you recognize the figure attempting to conceal themselves in a cap and well-known hoodie at the far edge of the club. You clench your jaw and push through the crowd. Did he really think you wouldn't recognize him? You would recognize Ejiro in a rave full of red-headed protein junkies. He catches your eyes as you stalk towards him and ducks his head guiltily in an attempt to hide. You stop in front of him with crossed arms and impatience, waiting for him to have the guts to face you. He peeks up from under his cap and sheepishly greets with a small hand wave. "Hi." "You're not supposed to be here," you say sharply. Ejiro's strained smile drops, and he hesitantly defends himself. "Well, you didn't say I couldn't be here. You just said not to tell Katsuki." You glare at him, snapping, "Well then I'm adding it. You can't be here while I'm here. I don't want to see you." You turn on your heel, avoiding the distraught puppy look that was sure to appear on Ejiro's face before it shook your resolve. He grabbed your arm. You stiffen and stare at the contact, your eyes turning to pinpricks. You shift your frosty glare directly to him, and he immediately lets go, visibly gulping. He, at least, had the sense to lower his eyes apologetically. "Please," he pleaded, so sorrowfully that you felt your heart squeeze. "Pebble, I can't just leave you here. I keep worrying that something is going to happen to you." You struggle to hold firm on your choice, reiterating, "I don't want, please," Ejiro begged. You'd held on as tightly as you could, but at that final plea, all your stubbornness slipped through your hands. You cross your arms, your lips thin with reluctant surrender. "Fine," you force out. "But you stay far, far away from me. Do you understand?" Ejiro takes a step away from you, bowing his head and nodding. "Yes, I understand." He appeared far too dispirited for someone who had just won this argument, and your heart was not steeled against his distress. The beating muscle yanked and squeezed at your limbs to reach out to comfort him. Ejiro that had always been nothing but gentle, nothing but kind. Before tears made themselves apparent in your eyes, you walk away, ignoring your heart imploring you, crying out like a prisoner desperate to be freed from their cage. You head over to the rest of the group. The circle had dispersed, and the star of the show was currently rehydrating, glowing from the attention. Zero and Denki watched Mina talk animatedly, both nodding along to fulfill their roles as the supporting male best friends. However, you noticed Denki's eyes flicking rapidly from you to Mina, as though he was trying to keep track of both Mina's words and your whereabouts. When he speaks, you find out just why his gaze held so much anxiety. "Moving on already?" he asks, with a playful lit, but the concern was there, for his friend who he thought was nowhere near. You exhale. That was Ejiro, Denki. The short, emotional surge leaving you in the grave of your previous elation. Zero winces and fluently places a drink in your hand. Looks like you could use another. You accept gratefully, taking a required gulp to restart your buzz. Mina peeks over your shoulder with surprise. Wait, seriously? What's he doing here? You lower your bottle to answer, grumbling. Watching me, apparently. He looks sad, Zero comments with a pitying gaze. Hope you weren't too harsh with him when you told him off. Your mood sours further. You knew you had been as harsh as sandpaper on skin, but refused to turn back and freshen Ejiro's hurt expression in your mind. You return the bottle to your lips, hoping Creati's creation possessed some magic to help you forget, or at the very least, a component to release you from the onerous guilt lodging in your chest. How dare your feelings betray you in such a way when you are not the one at fault? Bestie, Denki begins, biting his lip with hesitance. If you don't mind, I think I'm gonna go over there. The man is looking too depressed. You nod in understanding. It's okay, Denki. Ejiro is still your friend. Go ahead. Denki shoots you a contrite and thankful smile before walking away, alleviating a little guilt as he went. At the very least, you weren't taking Ejiro's friends from him. You know, if you want to get back at E, that guy over there has been eyeing you for a while now, Mina says offhandedly, flicking her eyes to her side to indicate a dark-haired man throwing interested glances your way. You meet the man's gaze briefly, before quickly looking away, shutting that idea down instantly. No, you say, perhaps faster than you meant to. I'm definitely not ready for that. Mina's smile is soft with understanding, and she knows better than to press. Okay, then how about we get out of here? And go where? You question in puzzlement. Well, Mina smirks mischievously, I was thinking maybe I can teach you to drive like us. Really? You shout with excitement, thankful for the loud music that prevented your elated hamster squeak from being heard. Not with my car, Zero warns from the rim of his bottle. Mina rolls her eyes and links her arm with yours. You can use my car, and when you get more comfortable, we'll get you your own. You hesitate. A stolen car? Mina falters before shrugging. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I'm sure we could buy you one if you want. That wouldn't be a problem. We'll see what happens, she says dismissively. First you gotta learn. Come on, let's give E a heart attack while he's not looking. Mina then hassled Zero and Zero out of entrance 7, while Ejiro's attention was on Denki, Zero glaring as she'd nearly spilled his drink with her push. As it turned out, the racers had claimed more than the AM. Beyond the abandoned mall were deserted backroads. Apparently once they'd built the new highway, there was no more use for them. But of course, the racers had made the stretches of winding tar their treasures, using them as practice grounds and tracks for more intense races. Mina had taken you to one of the many curving roads, explaining how it was good for beginners. You wondered distantly whether they'd made a list of the roads and ordered them from most to least difficult to drive on. Considering you already knew the basics of driving, Mina dived straight into how to drift lessons. Okay, so basically, Professor Ashido began with her instruction. For drifting, your car needs to be out of control to be in control. You get me? You blink at her and nod slowly. Okay. What the fuck does that mean? It means that you have to do the opposite of what you'd actually do, Ashido said wisely, sounding just like your worst teacher in high school with her explanations. Zero huffed impatiently. Basically, all you have to do is turn into the curve, then turn your steering all the way back and pull your handbrake. Mina smacked her hand on his chest lightly with annoyance. I was getting there! You were confusing them, Zero griped. Mina scowled, crossing her arms. Fine, then you teach them then. He smirked, gesturing for you to take the driver's seat. Come on, bestie. Let's try the hands-on method. You shoot a quick apologetic look to Mina before hopping in and allowing Zero to guide you on the curves. Mina watched you and Zero drive away, sighing in resignation as she did. Maybe she'd get to teach you something else, like how to cut the brakes on an asshole's car. Mina's ears perked at an approaching rev. She relaxed once the familiarity of the sound registered. Soon, the black Volkswagen Amarok sped to a stop, too close to not be threatening. But Mina did not flinch. Adro hopped down from the truck in the next second, slamming the door as he said, fuming, "That was fucking dirty." Mina rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. I texted you when we were leaving. After Denki and I searched high and low thinking something happened to them, Adro shouted angrily. Do you really think I'm going to let something happen to them? You think I wouldn't tell you? Mina bristled, partly offended by his insinuation. Well, you didn't tell me when you brought them here. As though on cue, Denki rolled through, still in his car. Where's Zero and Bestie? He asked uncomfortably, his eyes shifting between Adro and Mina. Mina jerked her head to the road you both took. Zero took them on the low tide waves. Right. I'm just gonna go catch up with them, Denki said, speeding away from their fight. What are you doing? Adro asked slowly. Why did Zero take them to low tide? To show them how to drift, Mina said bluntly. Mina, we're supposed to be finding a way to get them out of this world, not drag them deeper in. Mina exhaled sharply, turning on her heel to face Adro. She was tired of him and Katsuki's delusional outlook on all of us. And have you and Katsuki figured that out yet? She demanded. No. You know why, Adro? Because there's no way out. Shigaraki is insane, and he will try everything to get to them. The answer to protecting them is not locking them up like royalty in a tower. It's teaching them the skills to survive in our world. What you and Katsuki should have done in the first place. Maybe if you had, they wouldn't have been in that fucking accident. Adro had stared at Mina as she yelled, with wide, startled eyes. But once her words had pierced his hard skin, he faltered. His true feelings of worry and hopelessness revealed themselves from under the superficial anger, to show just how lost he was in this situation. Mina understood. Katsuki and Adro nearly lost you to death the day this all began. Had lost you in body, and now were floundering around with pieces of a relationship broken from distrust, and the person that they loved hating them for all of it. Mina softened her tone as she said, This is happening, Adro. They are here. It's time to accept that and find a way to walk around. Adro fell back against his car, taking a shaky breath and staring at the dirt like the specks could solve all his problems. I'm sorry for yelling at you, he said after a while. Mina exhaled dismissively. As you should be, but I know how hard this is for you and Katsuki. Adro looked off to the low tides, his eyebrows furrowing with unease. So just let this happen, even though it's dangerous? Adro, for every bit of anxiety and pain you might be feeling from this, imagine how they're feeling. They had to leave everything they knew behind because of Katsuki's stupid mistake. Had lost the trust they had in their loved ones, in their friends. And on top of everything, they know someone is out to kill them. They've lost control of everything in their lives, and you and Katsuki won't even let them out of the workshop. They're 100 times more scared and confused than you. And doing these little things like visiting the AM and learning to drive better are helping them feel like they have more choices. At the very least, they have control over this, when everything else has spiraled to chaos. Adro swallowed thickly. I didn't think about it like that. Mina sighed knowingly. Didn't expect you to. While Katsuki was emotionally constipated, Edro could be ignorant. He just needed some time to shake the cobwebs from his eyes so he could see clearer. Now, while you're on this path of self-discovery, you and Katsuki should also stop avoiding the topic and figure out how to fix your relationship, Mina scolded. Edro ducked his head, saying with deep-set misery, I don't think it can be fixed. And it's not the same between Katsuki and I either. He's feeling guilty. And of course so am I, but he's like punishing himself by keeping away from me. Mina decided to bestow a small mercy on Edro in that moment. He had done wrong, but at the end of the day, he'd been following Katsuki's lead to the hell they were both currently in. So, before we left, I told Bestie to hit on this guy. You told him to hit on someone else? What kind of friend are you? Edro blurted out, with a hurt expression. Mina shrugged. I'm their friend too. That's how I would tell any of my friends to move on. Fuck someone else. Mina! Okay, well anyway, she continued, if you'd seen Bestie's face when I suggested that, you would know that they're not over you and Katsuki. Edro thumped his head on his tinted window, his face contorted like he wasn't sure what to make of that information. Mina laid her hand on his shoulder. There's still a chance to make things right. Do I deserve to? Edro asked, his eyes far and distant. After the pain I caused them, after the danger I put them through. Mina relinquished her touch. Only they can decide that, Edro. But either way, you should try to fix things. Make it up to them. Make it right. You need to stop following them like a lost puppy, and Katsuki needs to get his big fucking head out of his ass and do something that will actually be worthwhile. In the distance, Mina's powerful engine could be heard nearing them. You were coming back. Do you really think this can be fixed? Edro questioned hesitantly. Mina watched her car come into view, weighing the possibilities in her head. I don't know. I just know that if you don't, everyone will be miserable. Then what was the point of all the suffering? There has to be an end, Edro. And then Zero took me on this really tight winding road. Oh, the Wendigo, Mina clarified, smiling to match your excitement. Yeah, that, and then I almost kinda did it. Oh well, I didn't. I almost crashed your car into a tree, but I'm sure next time I'll get it. I mean, I got the low tides mostly done, so... You were buzzing from your first racer driving lesson, and now erratically explaining the details of your drive with Zero to Mina, as they drove back to the workshop. Mina didn't look fazed when you admitted to nearly wrecking her car. Her grin may even have widened. They'd driven into a designated garage and entered the workshop. As they got out, Mina explained cheerfully, as though the BMW was a trivial item they could afford to demolish. You might have been lifting the handbrake a bit too early. What you want to do is, where the fuck have you been? You and Mina jump, startled by the appearance of Katsuki in the workshop. He wasn't supposed to be here. They'd planned this because he was assigned to help his parents with the design problem they had. Except he fumed before them, his lips curled in a snarl and fury boiling in his common eyes. Mina's mouth lay agape, but she did not answer. Should you answer? But what did you say? Tell the truth and expose everyone's actions? Denki popped in from his garage space, likely having just parked. He was followed by Zero not long after. Once he set eyes on Katsuki, he froze in place. Oh, hey Katsuki. You finished your parents' design work early? Katsuki's glare seared into him. Where have you been? He seethed lowly. Answer me, now. Relax, Cat, Zero said, seeming the most collected from all of them. We just went for a short drive. A drive? Katsuki spat incredulously. A fucking drive? And don't you think that in this short drive, anyone could have seen you? Maybe even followed you back to the workshop? 3 cars driving in fucking unison doesn't look suspicious to you? We were being careful, Katsuki, Mina defended. No one saw us. No one followed us. We just thought that Bestie could spend some time out of here because... Shut the fuck up. You don't fucking think. Cause if you did, you would have thought it would be a good idea to come and tell me first, so I could tell you what a stupid idea this was. And who the fuck are you to make all the decisions? You blurt out. Sick of Katsuki's yelling and him acting like some kind of god among mortals. What the fuck makes you think that you have any say in what I do and where I go? I do, because you're in fucking danger. I am trying to keep you safe. Whose fault is it that I am in danger? You yell back, tears misting in your eyes. Katsuki stilled, his jaw clenched. His chest lifted in rapid successions as he stared silently. His body as taut as a tripwire ready to be set off. Edro was the last to come into the workshop, arriving with his head down, as though he hadn't expected a crowd in the plain hallway. He jerked upright when he saw Katsuki there. Katsuki's eyes flicked to Edro. A mixture of anger, hurt, and betrayal swam in Ruby. He questioned, quieter than when he demanded answers out of them. Did you know? Did you go with them? Edro faltered. He thought you'd find this moment satisfying, to watch Katsuki and Edro feel an inkling of the anguish you felt from their betrayal. But your heart squeezed at the sight of Katsuki's pain, and Edro stammering a defense. I did, Kat. It was just for a little while. He lied, the discomfort clear, but open to interpretation in that moment. Katsuki turned on his heels and stormed away. Edro rushed after him, but you were left staring at the blank spaces. You felt the rope wrapped around your heart tug you forward, towards those who you'd looked for, but you suppressed your feeling. Though the words were excruciating to admit, you forced your heart to listen. You were not a part of them anymore, so could not follow. You had not been part of them ever, because they'd never shown you who they were. You were with them now, out of the necessity of the circumstance. But once it was resolved, you would leave. You chanted to your heart the truth, but it thumped with defiance, vowing to prove you wrong. Katsuki, I'm sorry I didn't tell you, okay? But everyone was careful, I promise, Edro said as he followed Katsuki into his room. I don't want to fucking hear it, Edro, Katsuki warned. I can excuse those other idiots, but I thought you were with me on this. I thought we both wanted to keep them safe, but fucking obviously I'm the only one with any sense. He wasn't looking at Edro, but scrounging around his meticulous room like he was looking for something. Edro knew he was just lashing out because he was hurt. Katsuki, he tried again, hoping his voice was smooth enough to penetrate Katsuki where he'd hear. Of course I want to keep them safe, but look at what we're doing. We're basically holding them hostage. That's not right. I don't fucking care, Katsuki yelled suddenly, making Edro jolt back. His eyes were flaming red. I don't care if they're not 100% fucking comfortable. I care that they're alive. Obviously their life means more to one of us. Edro clenched his jaw. That's not true and you know it. It looks like it, Katsuki said, his eyes wild with accusation. You allowed them to risk their life for what, Edro? To score some brownie points? Are you hoping if you let them do what they want, they'll take you back? Edro shook his head, dismayed and shocked by Katsuki's insinuation. No, I'm not. That isn't what I was doing. I was just... Katsuki snatched up his wallet and keys, apparently the items he'd been searching for. It's time you fucking accept that they're not coming back. I already have. The only thing we should concern ourselves with is keeping them breathing, however we have to do it. He stalked past Edro like the floor burned his feet. Where are you going? Edro called after him. You all went on a fucking drive, why can't I? Katsuki shouted back. The sound of his powerful engine starting vibrated through the walls, briefly, before silence possessed the workshop all at once. Eijiro collapsed onto Katsuki's bed, burying his face in his hands, like they could catch the tears that overflowed and dripped through. He could hear Katsuki's venom, your hurt, alongside Mina's small comfort. She was right to suggest he fix this, but the pieces of their broken relationship appeared too small for him to pick up, edges too sharp for him not to slit his own skin, too widely scattered, and lastly, far, far too many. How could he alone fix this? Someone cleared their throat in the doorway. Eijiro's head snapped up, surprised at who waited at the door. You swallow, avoiding his curious, tear-soaked eyes. I was making for myself anyway. You held out the steaming mug of chamomile lemon tea. Eijiro hurriedly got up from the bed, reaching out tentatively to take the cup, stunned. Thank you, he sniffed unsurely. Your hands fidgeted with themselves, and your lips parted as though you'd say more, but you merely nodded before hastily leaving. Eijiro peered down at the tea, wondering in his emotional haze what to make of it.